Vicky, thank you so much for being here. Absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Um, I've been listening to your music. It's great. I love it, and it's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now I've read that you're from Garden Grove. Is this true?
Yes, I am originally from Garden Grove,
Good,
California.
good deal. Orange County.
Orange County. Not a lot of people are happy to hear that
I
in
am
Los Angeles.
because
Are you from there?
I'm here right now. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Me and you,
Okay.
not too far away.
No, I know Orange County so well. It's so easy to navigate there compared to Los Angeles.
Oh
But
yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
That's definitely true. Um, that's awesome though. When I read that, I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Love to get the Orange County residents on this podcast. That's for sure.
Am I the first one?
No, there's been some other ones, but it's super sparse. A lot of people from LA, which I love. I love people coming on from LA and sharing their stories in New York and whatnot. But there's something about Orange County. I just love it.
I still love it. I never not loved it.
It seems like you're straying away from me. Like, no. I'm more LA now. I'm not gonna.
No, the more I live here, the more my heart longs for Orange County.
When did you move to LA? When did that kind of move happen for you?
I lived in Long Beach for like 10-ish years
Wow.
before I finally just moved to LA. I moved to LA in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but we've been here I've been here my whole life in Southern California, so it doesn't really feel like I left home per se, but yeah.
yeah, and in Long Beach is that kind of weird area. It's like it doesn't. I don't consider it LA, but it is. I mean, technically, it's like Seal and then Long Beach. Yeah, but it doesn't quite feel like LA. To me.
Not at all. It still has that hometown, like small town vibe, I feel.
Definitely.
And it definitely feels like a bubble, just like Orange County feels like a bubble. Times, not always, but like I definitely feel like when I left both cities, I was like, oh, I left a whole comfort zone, you know.
How do you feel about it now? Now being there for a couple of years now.
It's different. It took me a long time to finally feel settled in. It took until pandemic, really. Pandemic was awful, but during that time was when I really started to settle in LA better.
That was your favorite time in LA. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna get acquainted. It's about time me and LA had a chat.
Yeah, really, because I was getting ready to leave. I mean, I moved in 2018 and I wanted to leave right away. I was like, this is not me. But the pandemic slowed everything down, and it's kind of a very messed up blessing in disguise because it made me realize what I wanted.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And what was it that you wanted? What was it that you came to the conclusion of?
that I was going to be an artist, and
Yeah, I guess that's important. I guess that would be a monumental kind of
I
thing.
think,
Whatever.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why I'm here right now.
Or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's
So,
incredible.
hmm
Good for you, Vicky. Now
thank
moving
you.
back a little bit, when you were in Orange County, where were the spaces that you were going to go see music? Where'd you go to go see, like, oh, like there's a show there and there's a show there? Where were these places?
In Orange County,
Yeah.
so I didn't grow up around music people. I grew up like the closest thing musically to me at the time were church and school music program.
Good
And
deal. Good deal.
out
Surrounded by it constantly. Yeah.
in a way, yes, but like I really fell in love with it on my own terms. It wasn't really like someone showed me, you know. I think I just like fell in love with it through like whatever was on the radio, whatever was on television. There wasn't, internet yet. There wasn't social, let alone social media. So I just kind of like fell in love with it on my own terms and didn't know anyone, so I didn't wasn't going to shows or anything. And also my parents were really strict. Like I couldn't leave the house ever for recreational purposes, the only educational purposes. So I couldn't go to shows. But kids were going to like Chain Reaction,
Oh, sure,
and
sure. By
things
my
like
neck of the
that.
woods, absolutely.
Right.
Anaheim.
And I so wish I could have gone, because during that time, which was like, 90s, early 2000s, like that was the time to go. And not that now isn't, but I just remember that being like a big thing. And I was like, I just could never go. I wasn't allowed to go. So I'm very sad about it. But had I gone, who knows where I'd be now? Maybe I wouldn't even become a musician. Maybe like, I would have gotten scared or intimidated. Like, wow, like this is too crazy. But I was just like an innocent kid, innocent little Vietnamese kid back then, listening to like classical music and jazz music. I wasn't really listening to too much stuff yet.
You listen to real music. I get it. I understand.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so messed up. That's so messed up.
Um, so how did you eventually get into develop your own taste within music? When did that finally start to happen for you?
I think pandemic. I think up until then, when I started studying music and all of that, I was just kind of doing what everyone was telling me to do. It was like, oh, here, play this, listen to this, listen to that. And I was just like a sponge and just like, all right, I'll do it. And that's a very LA thing to do when you're an LA musician. It's like very easy to be good at everything, or become good at everything. So you can play all these different styles, and your chances of getting hired is wider. And I at but I noticed that as time went on, I would say no to more and more things that I didn't want to do, or in gigs, opportunities, whatever. And until there was none, which was pandemic, there was nothing for musicians at the time. And that was when I decided to like, okay, I think this is like the best time to working on a sound of my own.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So 2020 to 2021 ish. That was kind of like, those are your years. You really like those years. You really liked what was happening and how you ended up doing what you were doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the best time, best year of my life.
A
Worst
lot of
year for all of us, really, but really best year of my life.
shit years for a lot of people, but you thrived in it, Vicky. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh man, I would, what I would give to go back. Already. Everyone's all happy that shit's on the loose, out on the loose, but I'm like, I want to go back to isolation
Yeah,
so
you're
bad.
bummed out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now when you were younger, you were studying piano, right?
So the whole classical route, of course, very, typical of a lot of pianists. And then I went towards jazz just because it was more expressive, more freedom. Um, and it was just I think even as a kid, I think I always had like a knack for like writing and composing music. Like it's always been very natural to hear melodies, hear like chord progressions in my head. And so it just makes sense that I'm doing what I'm doing now. Just like looking back on like the early days, I'm like, yeah, like this makes a lot of sense now.
When you were in the house with your parents and growing up around them, what were they putting on for music? What was
Not,
their kind of thing? Nothing. Silence.
nothing. Like Jesus radio, Vietnamese communist shit, anti-communist shit. Typical, South Vietnamese family household. Really, that's all they were doing, like just news, religious, Catholic, Vietnamese stuff. And they never put me onto music, even my dad. My dad was the musician in the family. So if anything, I definitely was influenced by that because he was the one that was excited about music, but he never shared it with me. So he kept it to himself. So he wasn't showing me like records or anything like that, which is like in hindsight, that's a very sad thing. It's okay, I'm fine now. But like I realized that I took on after him because when I got into music, I kept it to myself too. Like I was like, this shit is so tight. I'm not sharing with nobody, you know. So he was gatekeeping music, and so I was like, all right, bet I'll gatekeep it too.
Yeah.
And
You
I'm
said
still gatekeeping.
I'll play your game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still kind of gatekeeping. I have my closest friends are always like share your playlist with me. I'm like, no.
No.
I have a secret playlist that is just
It's private for a reason.
it's private, but I share bits and pieces at a time. You know, I don't just like just show it off all at once. But
Sure, and that will be linked below, so go ahead and go check that out. We will be releasing those documents. Those
I
will be
got
public
hacked.
information. Yeah. We will
Yeah,
be
you guys are
hacking
gonna hack me.
Vicky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So feel free, and then share it with other people as well. Yeah.
It's such a Yorba Linda thing to do too.
That certainly is. Yeah. Kind of tapping into wires, Nixon-esque. Yeah. Very Yorba Linden. So what was it about the piano that kind of drew you into that? What was it about the piano specifically?
Um, my first exposure to piano was at church. The church pianist was she was a woman. I think that had a lot to do with it, you know, like just being that. Had it been a man, I probably would have been like, I don't want to do what a man does, you know. Like, but she was playing church. She was playing at church, and my dad was actually the choir director of that church at the time, and so we'd go every Saturday evening, and she'd be playing, and I noticed that every week she'd be playing the same hymns differently. And I was like, even as a kid, because I was so attracted to music at the time, I was like, oh, what's going on? She would play it differently. She would play her intros differently. She would end differently. And like sometimes she would kind of reharmonize certain songs because it would become so repetitive. She'd just, start fucking around. And I would notice that shit. And like for a kid to realize, like, wait a minute, she's not playing what's written on the page. She's fully composing on her own terms, like improvising, right? And that was what drew me to the piano, was like, wow, what a powerful vehicle, what a powerful instrument. And yeah, I'm also literally the only instrument that I had exposure to as a kid. So that too. But I was so like fascinated by that I became obsessed. Like I begged my parents for lessons. They said no for the longest time. It was crazy. Like an Asian kid begging their parents for piano lessons is unheard of. Like that's so against the fucking stereotype. But I knew I wanted it. So yeah.
Wow. Improvising hymns. I mean, that was the first. I mean, I'd never heard of anybody doing that. Kind of putting their spin on it. Little remix of it.
I mean, it depends on what kind of church you go to, but certainly not a Vietnamese Catholic church. That's what you hear every day. It's like usually it's like karaoke tracks playing or something. But she was bomb. She was baller. She was really good. She was very like flamboyant. She'd wear like a feather jacket, feather coat, and she was so like eccentric. And I was like, yeah, I think I'd take her personality. I stole her skis. I totally did.
Yeah, and she does listen to this, so I mean, we got it on tape. Biting some style over here. That's fine. All right.
I mean, Orange County is a small place, it's a small world there, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we run in the same circles, her and I. So yeah, I will be relaying that. However, moving forward, when did you join your first band, real band, quote unquote?
Band. I've always been like a hired gun, so I didn't really like play in a proper like band where we like played shows. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
That context.
I mean, outside of church, shows outside of church. Let me just specify it even further.
Church, school. I would say, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I've done a lot of like one-offs, like, hey, we're playing this random casual gig, we're playing this random whatever. But I would say like my first band with a name, all of that, and everyone's gonna Google this so fast. and see all this old young Vicky
Looking
content.
forward to it. Drop it on
Um,
us.
I played in this band called Air Life, and
Airline.
we were based in LA. We're still homies. And yeah, it's the band leader is Taylor Dexter. He goes by Tay Dex. He's a amazing producer now. He's doing great things with his music. About the time we're in this band together, and it's a trip. So I would say that would be my first like proper band. We rehearsed every week. We played shows. We did shitty van tour. That whole life.
Sure.
Hmm.
When did you become a hired gun, like you said? When did that kind of opportunity start to arise for you?
Since I was 16.
Wow. What was the first example of that? That somebody was like, "Hey, we want to use you for a couple of gigs or this one gig."
I read music really well, so people would hire me for like school choir stuff, church. Sometimes I would do like wedding ceremonies, funerals, baptisms, bar
Dang,
mitzvahs.
running across
Like
the whole
just
circuit. I mean, man.
yeah. There's
Woo.
piano is a very profitable instrument of the instruments. I would say piano, guitar, bass. Everyone needs a bass player for some reason. Yeah, so but piano is just kind of like you if you're like tight on money, just hire a pianist to play solo piano somewhere. It's just a very easy profitable instrument to learn. So I would say, yeah, right when I was 16, I started getting like random little jobs, and I've never had like a normal job before. I've always played music for a living somehow. Somehow I'm still here. So yeah.
What was the oddest gig that you did? Was it the funerals or was it the wedding? Or like, what was the weirdest kind of like, why am I here kind of scenario that you found yourself in while doing this?
I would say definitely the church. I didn't think I was gonna work for the Catholic Church forever. I felt like I was just like Jesus. Jesus had me for a long time. He was my boss for a long time, and through that, I just yeah, I played all these weird ceremonies all the time, and I just didn't believe in it anymore. So it's kind of like this is weird. Why am I here?
When did you get out of that circuit? When did you finally start to detach yourself from it?
I think I officially got out, believe it or not, 2018. I was working for a Catholic school, as their like piano accompanist for their music program. And although it was like a school, operated like a school, but then there's that Catholic choke hold on it, which made things a little awkward for me because I'm not a practicing Catholic. I grew up Catholic, but I'm not practicing, and so it's a little awkward for me because they pray in the middle of school every day, and there'd be I feel like there's going to be like a lot of Christian hate after this podcast, but I'm not hating on you, y'all.
You're
It's
doing it.
weird.
You're saying it, Vicky. Not
It's
not
just
me. No, no, no.
I play piano. I'm not here to praise nobody. I'm
You
just
say,
playing
listen,
piano.
I'm just a piano player. I'm just here at school. I don't attend the school.
Right. Yeah, that was it. That was it for me. But I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore because now I can just like, not think about, okay, I gotta button up my sweater and hide my tattoos every day. Now I can just be myself. So
Tattoos out all the time now. That's
oh
and
yeah.
it's funny that you said 2018 issue. That's right when you moved to LA. Maybe that has something to
Hmm.
do with it. I don't know, Vicky. Just saying. Maybe they corrupted
Yeah.
you already.
Yeah. I know that Los Angeles corrupts you really fast.
That's it. Just like that. Like
All the
that.
all the influencers influenced you. You
Yeah.
just you can't help it.
Now, when did you start working with people in a writing aspect? Because I know that you did that for a time. Was that shortly after kind of getting out of playing at churches and schools and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I was kind of like, so the church and the school thing were like my income. That was like the last time I had like a normal schedule, like salary, all of that, right?
Making
And
big bucks, yeah.
yeah, well, it was like
Huge,
cushy.
huge amount of money that you were making
Oh,
there.
so much money.
Yeah.
It was very comfortable. I would say that. And when you're very comfortable in something, especially that's like supposed to be art or music, you're gonna feel complacent and you're gonna feel like I need to do something. I need to do something with something creative, you know, not that it didn't have creative moments, but there just weren't enough of it. And so on the side, I would do sessions. And so my earliest time, like I would say like maybe around 2000, like 10, 2009 was when I started doing like session work, not as a session player, but like just as a writer, collaborator, meeting different people in the industry who were like just needed someone to come in and play keys, that kind of thing. So I would say I started doing that, getting invited to random sessions, and it kept growing and growing until I made my way through LA and people started recommending me for different things all the time. Also, like playing for artists, like playing in their bands and touring with them. And so the touring schedule just was messing up the actual work schedule. I was taking time off just to go on tour for like 3 months, which is insane. And they didn't, I could tell they didn't like that. You know, she's been gone so long, like when is she coming back? And I realized, yeah, I don't think I should come back anymore.
Yeah, you missed a couple of services and they're starting to worry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, like people trying to get married here.
Like, yo,
And I'm not there.
there's a bunch of dead people. People are trying to get married there, and there's no music to accompany it. What are we supposed to do? You kind of
Literally, it's also kind of fucked up, you know, to like be playing a baptism for like kids who were just born, and then you play a funeral shortly after that, and then you play a wedding shortly after that. So it's like the trifecta of life all in one day. Birth, death,
did you
and some kind of life. Yeah,
did you
just
ever
insane.
do that? Did you ever do the
I have.
a 3 year like in a day? Though,
Yeah, the trilogy in one day. It's fucked up. It
shit.
fucks up your mind. It really does, because you learn how to like dissociate yourself, and but then you can't help it because it's like, this is not right. This is not normal. I was
Wow.
making tons of money, you know.
Profiting off of birth and death and in engagements. One of the people that you've worked with was Anderson .Paak. Now, when
Hmm.
did that kind of come about? Was that kind of the time of starting to get into working with musicians? Was that pretty early on for you?
Yeah, yeah. When he was still Breezy Lovejoy. I say this in every interview. He used to be Breezy Lovejoy before he changed his stage name. And at the time he was like a drummer. He was just like a amazing drummer, always been. And he
Is
wanted to
now,
do,
yeah, really, really
yeah,
good.
and he wanted to be an artist. So he needed to write songs, he needed to like produce songs. And our friend Kelsey, who's a bass player, plays bass in his band and for the Free Nationals. We met and he recommended me, and I pulled up to the session, and it was just like, whoa, intimidating, because they were so good. He was so good that I was just kind of like blown away. Even when I first heard, his music, I was just kind of like, this is special. This guy's gonna be a star. And of course, 10 years later.
So that was like kind of like the first sort of um experience within creating music of like quote unquote higher caliber, of like, this is actually, we're really trying to make this blow up and this is on like a different level.
Yeah, right. It I saw music in one way for the longest time until I met these guys, and then it just went like limitless. I was like, okay, now we're in the big leagues. That's what
Wow.
it felt like. Hmm.
Who else did you work with, like following that experience with him?
Um, at the time, I was around the Sarah gang, which is Shafiq Hussein, Omar Keith, and Taz Arnold. They're kind of responsible for a lot of like neo soul R&B music, uh, foundations of it, I would say. And and I was around that a lot. So it was just kind of like anything goes. Anyone could be at the studio. So I would just pull up almost like every week and just not I don't even remember what we did. I just remember working for Shafiq and just making songs with him a lot. And we'd play shows too. Yeah, I remember, yeah, we did. We played shows. Crazy. Yeah, it was such a blur because I was so young at the time. I was like in my early 20s and like just like I said, like a sponge. I was just absorbing everything.
Sure.
So they that foundation was, at the time I didn't know that that was what was happening, but that was like the beginnings of like what my sound was gonna be, because I didn't really have like, I had talent, I had a sound for sure. That's why they fucked with me, but I didn't have like direction yet. And they kept telling me like, you need to write music, like you're gonna be an artist, you are an artist. And I'm like, oh no, don't do that, I'm not an artist, no. But no, they were right. But that time was very significant for me. I needed that. And not a lot of people are fortunate enough to have that kind of like experience. I was very, very fortunate that they invited me. I didn't try to get in on that. That was an invitation. And yeah.
That's awesome. What is an artist or band that you would like to work with in a writing capacity like that that you haven't got the opportunity to work with yet?
Um, I would love to write with Janet Jackson easily. I would do more than write for her. I would be like her servant.
All right, well, we'll get that lined up for you. Well, because she's a big fan of this show, so yeah.
Oh my God, I would serve her. I love her so much. I'm crying because this is funny to say. I want to be your servant. Um, I would love to work for her for free. Okay, I'll
For
stop.
okay, yeah, for
Um,
free, below
yeah,
scale.
yeah, I would lose money for her. Um, um, Band wise, I would love to work with Little Dragon. They are so fucking cool and they're still killing it, and I love their style.
You're gonna have to be
And I would
paid
love
for
to work
that.
for them.
You're gonna have to be paid for that one.
I would like to.
Okay. Still, I mean,
I need
we'll
to keep
later on we'll
some kind of,
negotiate.
right. I need to keep some kind of dignity, right? So
Now going back to that hired gun kind of scenario and touring with musicians, how now was that kind of within the same atmosphere of the writing that you were kind of asked, like, hey, why don't you come on tour with us and be, backup vocals or
yeah,
on the piano?
yeah. Like well, it's a bit funny because during that time, that was like what, early 2010s. Um, Even during that time, like people weren't about like female musicians on stage, let alone a non-white, musician on stage. So I was getting like, I would get auditions because of it, because people were like, oh, we need a keyboard player. I'm like, okay, here's Vicky, hit her up. And I would audition for these artists. And I would be getting told routinely, like, you're not the right look. And I know, we all know what that means when you say I'm not the right look, So during that early 2010s, like it was just constant that. So it was very much drilled in my brain that I don't look the part. I'm not meant to be an artist. So that's why it took me forever to finally be like, I'm not even a fucking artist, fuck you. But yeah, it was, I was just being told that. So I was like, okay, well, I bet I'm not meant for this life. So I was always behind the scenes, not really playing like that. And Air Life happened during that time, so that was like my one exposure to like playing in a band and performing, because they didn't give a fuck and they were just like a local band. You know, the local bands didn't give a fuck about that. But like Hollywood, mainstream music cares so much about image. So at the time it wasn't cool. But now all of a sudden we love diversity. We love that you look weird, you know, like, you look different. And now it's all of a sudden very, very trendy now, you know, and which is fine. I know I sound jaded by saying this, but at the time, like I said, like who knows where I'd be now if they had given me those opportunities, you know, but it's okay because I'm glad that it worked out this way. I think like if I written my own songs, which I tried to during my early days, it would have been bad, and it was bad. It was bad. My friends laughed. Like if I played any of them, my old shit, they laughed. They
Would
were
you tell
roasting
them
me. They're
that it
like,
was
"This is
yours?
bad."
Would you tell them like, hey, this is something I've been working on, or would you just throw it on
Well,
and they were like, ah, no, I don't
yeah,
like this?
yeah. You know, I'm like shy. I'm like, here's what I need. You know, and they're like, oh, this is bad.
So when you were finally accepted into like, yeah, it doesn't matter who you
Mhm.
are, let's just get you out on tour. Who were kind of some earlier ones beyond the early 2010s, like who was bringing you on tour during that time?
I would say my first like proper like tour, like what felt like, oh, I made it in the cut, was probably with Cali Uchis. Um,
Yeah,
um,
lower level. Yeah, nobody really knows about her. Yeah, definitely kind of
she she only has like one of the most streamed music ever in history
under the
right now.
radar band, under the radar artist.
Right. I started touring with her in, I think, 2018. Yeah. Yeah, 2018. It's like a magic number. She was really cool about, oh, you're a woman and you're not white. Great. And that was the first, I was like, really? Because everyone else was like, nah. She was the first, I would say she was the first one that was a very clear cut, I like you for you. I'm like, oh, okay. She's cool for that. And then henceforth, like everyone's been like, I don't care how you look. Well, that's great. Now we don't really care about the look as much, right? But back in that time, it meant a lot to me. Like that really meant a lot.
Did you feel during that time like that her stuff was gonna blow up eventually? Like, could you see it then that like, oh, this is gonna so many people are gonna catch on to this?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like she's. I still think she's. I mean, clearly, she's a great writer. I love her songwriting. It's amazing to me. Like I wish I could write so honestly and so like beautifully. You know, I mean, I can write music, but you know, she does it so well. But yeah, I loved her first project, the one that she showed. That's like one of my favorites of hers still. Like her Por Vida record was fucking amazing.
Catchy stuff,
Hmm.
definitely. Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of one of those, like her melodies is what like sticks with you. You know, even after
Hmm.
you're done listening to the song, like it's like that kind of scenario.
Right. Yeah. Her melodies, her experiences, like she just writes her experiences on in songs so well. I love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. We'll give her a plug. Caliucci's kind of, yeah, like we were saying, little known band. Definitely go check her out. Really good stuff. Gonna blow up soon. I'm
Yeah.
feeling it. Yeah. Really gonna gain some exposure, especially after this. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna broaden horizons. What is a band that you would like to be touring with, like in that capacity? What's like your idea, like, oh, that'd be cool to be a part of that band while on tour, minus Janet Jackson, taking her out of the equation? Who else?
The first one that comes to mind is Thundercat.
Little or no
I
band.
don't.
You really like to support these like kind of like lower level musicians that
Oh
haven't like
well,
bounced up. Yeah.
I
Janet
mean,
Jackson.
yeah, I'm going hard with Janet right there. I would love to open for Thundercat. I would love to open for like comedians too, honestly. I think that'd be really fun.
Oh,
Like I'm
opening for a comedian. Now I never heard about that. I've heard of comedians opening up for bands, but never a band
right.
or up for a comedian.
I'll open up for a comedian. I think that makes sense too because in comedy during my sets, during my live sets, I kind of crack little jokes here and there. They're really shitty jokes, terrible jokes that wouldn't normally get a laugh, but because I'm an artist and I'm a musician, that component makes the vibe. It just sets the vibe. So you can say a knock knock joke and motherfuckers are gonna laugh at you. But a comedian can't do that. They can't just go on stage and just say they're just gonna bomb. So the live music component just sets a nice tone, a nice vibe right away. And like I know that for a fact because I've talked to comedians before, like comedian homies, and they all say the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's easy for you because you're playing music, so there's just like already this like feeling of like, oh, this is gonna be fun. But
Yeah,
comedians just by himself, like on stage like this, and like like anything goes. People are not going to laugh, people are going to laugh, whatever.
right.
So
Very
I think it
solo
makes
endeavor.
sense. Yes, I
Yeah.
think it makes sense to have a comedian on the road. And if that's the case, I would love to open for like Ali Wong or something,
Good
Again,
choice.
going
Good.
A-list only.
A
A-list only.
list only. Little smaller known comedians, bands. That's kind of shit that you're into. I get you, Vicky. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
How has working on other artists and bands projects differed from your own? Looking back on it now and comparing the two kind of feelings.
I definitely do all my songs by myself. Like I write and produce everything by myself. And there's a pride to that. I'm definitely very proud of everything I've made. And it's very hard for me to open up and let people help me. I know eventually I need to. It's not something that I want to keep to myself forever. But that would be the big difference. I'm very selfish about it. So and it's not because I'm afraid people are going to steal like I'm not doing anything that's innovative, like that. But I feel like I am pushing some kind of envelope. I feel like I am, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't feel like I'm making some kind of difference. So with that being said, that's why I feel like I need to keep doing this alone so that I can keep pushing whatever boundaries I'm pushing right now. And eventually, if I feel like I can't do that anymore, then that means I'm going to need people to help me, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Now you've mentioned that the people that you've worked with before while on tour and in writing in these kind of scenarios have affected like the music that you make now, and like, oh, I like that idea, and how they did this and how they did that. But outside the musicians that you've worked with, who were some other musicians that really like influenced your music?
It's kind of interesting because like even before I met Mac, I was already a fan of Mac DeMarco. So I was already very inspired by him and Mild High Club, both of them. And we're close now. I'm close to both of them now. But even before I met Mild or Alex Breton from Mild High Club, like I was very influenced by their sound, music, and the way they wrote and produced. Like they were heavy in my rotation, just listening to their music.
Okay, that's a little bit too much for the playlist. That's enough of who's on the playlist, and just not that's
again up and coming artists, right?
yeah, very very, yeah. I think that what was his name? Mike
Matthew.
Matthew DeMarco. That guy's gonna
Yeah.
have a different kind of career for sure.
Yeah.
Blow up. You watch, you laugh now, but I think it's coming.
They for sure influenced me even before I met them. So them and then Little Dragon. I was just there was no one writing music like them at the time. Like any of those three artists at the time. Now everyone's trying to sound like them. Still trying to sound like them.
when did you decide to finally release Sweet Company? When did you come to terms with like, all right, I gotta finally put out my own stuff?
Um, it's so crazy how the universe works in your favor. I don't know if it's that or pure luck. A lot of us people in the music industry will say a lot of it has to do with luck. But I feel like it's still just like you speak it into existence, and then there's a way the universe just works in ways. It's so fucking crazy. But when I started writing my songs, like little by little, I would share them to friends in the industry just to get their feedback. And Mac was one of them. And he just was we were texting during the time, and he was like, "This is cool. Who is this?" And I was like, "Oh, it's me." And he was like, "Cool, you should write a record." I'm like, "Okay." Like, okay. Like and I wasn't planning on writing a whole project. I was just gonna like write one or two songs and put it on SoundCloud like everybody else, right? And not serious at all. I wasn't thinking big picture. I should get a deal. I should, whatever. And I finished my record. I mixed it and everything, and came out to his studio because at the time I was in mixing mode and wanted to hear them in different speakers, that kind of thing. And he's a good enough friend where he was cool with it, and I just like wanted to hear it on the speakers, and he was listening to it. And then like just like barely into the second song, he was like, I have this record label.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to hear my mix.
Can you just give me 1 minute here? I'm just trying to really. This is not the time to be chatting.
You're kind of bothering me right now, Mac. I need to listen to my mix. Hold on. And then finally we heard the whole.
You shoo him away like, yes, very nice, nice to meet you. Yeah. No, I'm a bit busy right now. Please. Yeah.
But yeah, that was when he offered me a deal, and he was very serious about signing me. Called me the next day. "This is not a joke. I want to sign you." I'm like, yeah.
Still just fucking around. Yeah, okay, buddy.
I know.
Yeah. Listen, I gotta park. I gotta go park. I'll talk to you later. I'll give you a call later on.
I mean, I was so honored, honestly. Like I didn't think, I didn't come there so I forgot he had a record label. I literally forgot. I was just wanting to hear music in my mix.
Wow.
So it just worked out, and that in that moment, that was when I realized, like, I think this is gonna change my life. Like, I think it gave me the confidence to like really, really go for it.
Wow. I would say that's a good kick in the ass to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. Yeah, the cosign of Matt DeMarco.
Yeah.
Do you recall the first two songs? Because you said you're working on like a couple songs before and you're gonna throw up on SoundCloud. Do you remember what songs they were that you were gonna just kind of throw up there and you're working on it first?
Mm-hmm. Are We Okay? And Kakashi.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what reeled him in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
That was it.
When did you start writing these songs? Was it like pretty soon after trying to hash them out that you began writing it? Was it kind of a quick process within that scenario of kind of having the idea and writing it?
It just kind of went back to back. Like I was on like a rampage at the time.
Yeah, and you're on the mixing phase as well, and people are bothering you. Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah, no one knew who I was. And they still don't really know who I am.
They do. You're Orange County local. I mean, everybody does. Vicky, come on, get out of here. Garden Grove zone. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm eating pho in Little Saigon. Like, oh, Vicky Farewell. Yeah, right. We'll see.
People know. I was gonna say from the church though. Really, they're like, oh fucking, they're shit. Hey, you played my uncle's funeral. What's up, Vicky? You get that? You ever get that one? That's probably what you're hit with. Oh, bar mitzvah. What's
Yeah,
up?
probably go back to that job so I can pass out flyers for my next show at the end of funerals. Like, hey, come to my show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm playing a set, playing at the Resonant.
I'm actually right down the street. If you wouldn't mind, just chain reaction. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of
I'm playing at House of Blues. House of Blues. After the funeral, House. All right, cool.
you're gonna want to bang a left, right? Okay, so you keep on driving down.
The observatory, the small room, the smaller room. That's where I'm like after the funeral.
Consolation room. Yeah, no. Yeah. Be sure be sure you're ready to stand because it is you're gonna be standing. So
yeah. No seats. Oh my god. Oh, the struggle is real. The struggle is real.
So what year are we talking about that you finally decided like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this. I'm gonna try to write my own stuff. What kind of time frame are we talking about there?
2020.
2020. All right.
3 years ago. Damn
Really?
near.
I guess it is, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
These ideas that actually ended up being used in the songs within the album,
Hmm.
were those already like kind of fleshed out ideas somewhat? Like, oh, I could use that part and I could use this and I want to do this, or was it completely from scratch that you were writing this in
Mm,
2020?
for the most part, they were from scratch.
Wow.
There weren't any like old things that I had saved. I didn't really rehash any of that. Except for one song. I think I had like a random beat I made back in the day, and I was like, I kind of like this. Let's give it some life, a new life. Yeah.
Wow. Now the album is called Sweet Company, and that
Hmm.
is a song within the album. When did you come to that conclusion that you wanted that to be the title of the album?
I was going through each track, listening for some kind of like buzzword, something, and I think "Sweet Company" was like the perfect one. And it, even though it wasn't like single worthy, I think it's worthy of much more than just being a single. It's just like something that I really felt was what encompassed the entire tone of the record, even though it was done in complete isolation, forced isolation. um it the whole point of that song was just like finally coming to terms with myself, like feeling like I can really express myself musically and with confidence, and that's what this record is all about.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, yeah, so it made all the sense in the world to call it that.
Were you really looking inward during that time, not really writing about anything else besides you and what you were going through at that time and your emotions?
Hmm. Yeah. Lyrically, I wasn't very strong. I was still, I wasn't the best. I'm not the best lyricist. I'm like a musician, I don't write too much poetry or words like that. And I've since gotten way better now, but but back in the day, it was just kind of like, all right, I'm limited. so so I need to like learn how to make I need to learn how to balance out my strengths and my weaknesses. So if the words couldn't convey certain emotions, then the rest of the music did. So at least that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think it's kind of important to be boxed in sometimes within a creative field, because it's like, okay, now you gotta kind of like train your brain to work in a different direction. It's like, this is what we had to work with, so let's see
Mhm.
how we can make this the best or like the most of what we have. I think that's really important.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
I feel like you're not on my side. You're just saying it because it would be weird if you said no. That's what I feel right now, Vicky. I feel like you are against me on that, but that's fine. Leave a comment below if Vicky is really with me or not on that. I'm on the side of a no.
Sad.
Now, did you end up working with anybody else with this album, at least musically, or was it completely all you?
I wrote and produced everything. I had a couple friends, like one friend played guitar, I had another friend do percussion on a couple songs, and that was it. I had another colleague and a friend mix, and another person master it. But for the most part, like the creative end of everything was on me.
How was that to be kind of really submerged, even going beyond writing and performing, but kind of getting your hands within like the mechanics of actually making the record? Like, all right, let me master this and let me engineer it to some of a sense. How was that for you?
Um, Empowering. And if I ran into any problems, which I did all the time, I had friends who were more than happy to help me out. So it was just always like talking to Mac and Alex. They were just so like supportive of me doing this myself. They, if anything, Mac was like, just do it yourself. Like, he's very adamant about that part of it, because I think it's just like, yeah, I can do this myself, and I can do it myself in a very like unique way. As opposed to like, if I had like other producer homies come in and help me, I think it would have just sounded like everyone else. Because I'm sorry, producer homies, you guys sound the same.
But but they're still the homies and you support them, right, Vicky?
Still love you, but you guys use the same shit. I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm not. Oh, it's out. It's
it's
out.
it's out there. We're gonna release the names below. Again, a lot of information you gotta check underneath this one. This is a juicy one, Vicky.
It's out of the bag. But really, I didn't want to sound like them. I like I may not have the best drums. I may not have the best, whatever else, but at least it's unique, and you can hear that it's me. So yeah.
That's what's important. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
were all these songs kind of built by the accompaniment of your vocals on and the piano? It was that like the building block for each of these songs?
For the most part, yeah. Especially like Are We Okay and Kakashi, Sweet Company. They were all here at the keyboard or at the piano, whatever. They all started from there. And the others, like the more like loopier ones, like I think I was just started them in the laptop, the DAW. But for the most part, especially my next record, like I'm starting everything at the piano. None of it is going to be like, okay, here's a loop, let's go for it. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm finding more freedom starting here first. Because like when you start on the grid, it's just a grid over and over and over and over. There's no freedom in that. At least for someone like me,
Right.
it might be for others, and I've seen it done, and it's fucking amazing. But for me, I need this. It makes sense for me to start on something like this before I even get onto like the laptop. Um, so yeah.
Good deal. What
Hmm.
was the most difficult part of getting this album finished?
The most difficult part about finishing
Yeah. That's a better way of
it.
saying it. Sure, Vicky. We'll go with your way of saying it. Gotta correct me at
um,
every stage of this. No, but what was the most difficult part for you with this album?
I think the most difficult part was this is not a technical response, but like the hardest thing for me to accept was, is this good? And to me, I thought it was good. And but I was still insecure about like what is the rest of the world going to think, and you know, more importantly, what are my own friends and colleagues going to think? You know, because I've had my own friends and colleagues laugh in my face by the shit I've made, and I know that's like just mean, you know, like, but that's kind of the culture of it. Like they're gonna fucking tell you to your face, and this shit fucking sucks. And um, so I was afraid of rejection, afraid of like, you know, yeah, not being good enough. So that was the hardest part, is to mentally like not tell myself that at the very least. Sure, there are gonna be plenty of people who are not gonna fuck with me. I don't care. But the hardest part was to have myself like really accept like this is good.
What was the reception that you kind of received from those people that you were worried about their validation?
Oh, they all loved it. You bitches all loved it. Listen to it every day
Tell
still.
them, tell them, Vicky. On current
Not a
rotation.
day goes by that you don't listen to my music.
Now, when you started to make this album, you said that you had no intention of Mac putting it out on his record label, and then eventually he offered to put it out. What was going through your mind at that time? What was your thought process? Were you like, "Holy shit," or what? What was what was
I
what was the general feeling for you?
Here's the thing, in the music industry, when someone tells you a really good potential, you don't, rule number one, you don't believe it. You just don't believe it until it happens, until you see it for yourself. You just don't believe it. Because like there's too many times in my career where I've been told, hey, you got the part, or you got, you know, whatever. And it just flat out doesn't fucking happen. I would say that happens more than like than anything else.
Yeah,
Like
and
just
and we're gonna release those names right now of people who said that. So let's start in alphabetical order. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not going to.
No. That's for the next episode. Next time you come on, we're gonna start with just the
Right.
list. Just I mean, running down names. No, but when when it finally came to fruition, or like when you actually felt like, oh shit, this is gonna happen, what was your reaction
When I
during?
signed the freaking form, like when I physically signed it, and that was it. You know, that was when I was like, oh, okay. Then I can finally envision it and dream and like, you know, come up with ideas, that kind of thing. Um, that was when it really materialized. But him like reiterating, I'm serious. I know I joke around, fuck around. I'm serious. Calling me Vicky, I wasn't fucking with you, because he knows better than anyone else that this industry is full of like false promises all the time. You know,
Right.
that's just the way it is. There's no one to blame for that. That's just the way this shit is in this industry. So for him to just keep going like with me, like I'm doing this, we're doing this, come on, you know, like I'm like, okay, yeah.
That must have been an amazing feeling when you
Yes, it
finally
does.
put.
That's my boy for life, man. I'll die for that bitch. I'll die for my bitch. I fucking love him. So
Now, how what was the feeling that you had when you finally held that album in your hands and it was your project and it was what you wanted to do and put out? How did that feel?
it was crazy. First of all, he got it first. So he got the physical copy first, but I didn't even get it until like I would say weeks later. He somehow was able to get the first copy. Well, he's the owner of the label. I get it. But he got it first. It like shipped to him when he was in New York. So he cat's out of the bag now. So he did like a whole cross country tour in his van or his truck, whatever. And he was in, I believe, New York. He was in New York City at, or was he? Wherever Danger Mouse's studio is. He was in Danger Mouse's studio and he got shipped there. So I think Danger Mouse has my record. I don't know if he even listens
That's
to it. I think
pretty
he just
tight. That's pretty
threw it in the
rad.
trash. Like what? Uh,
No, he's one of the people. He's like every day. It's in constant rotation. Yeah. Check his Spotify playlist. It's in there.
but he had it shipped out to him there because he was going to be there, and he took a picture of it, and sent it to me. I was like, wait, what? Like you got it, and literally like 3 weeks later, like the SpongeBob. 3 weeks later, it comes to my house, and I got the press copies, and I was like, oh my god,
Wow.
it was insane to see myself in on a product. Yeah, kind of nuts.
That must be a trippy feeling for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when was the first time that you started performing those songs live? Was it, I mean, because it was obviously after the pandemic, but do you remember the first time getting up on stage and being like, here's my fucking songs?
Yeah, I was opening for John Carroll Kirby. He's a friend of mine, asked me to do like an opening set for him. So that was like my very first show. Also, the same night as my record release day. Yes, it was April 8th. And it was also his release day. So we had a twin release day. And it was cool. Uninterestingly enough, didn't feel any different than playing for another person on stage, because I think I was just so used to the fact that I'm a performer already. It didn't really like phase me too much to be like the face of my own music now. It was just like, oh, I gotta do this show. But in time, it as I started touring and doing more shows, it was like, okay, I know how to make this unique to me now. So it took time for me to be like, I want to do it this way. But whereas before I was just like, okay, yeah, hire a band, and just do a show.
What has been your favorite song to perform live after kind of getting it out there and having some time to look back on it? What has been the one that you're like, yeah, that's a favorite?
um, for a while, it was Are We Okay? That's my first single, the first song that I ever wrote. And that was my favorite one. But now it's changed to a new song. That song is now like, it's not released, so it's a brand new song, and it's called Turn Me On.
Good deal. Are we okay? Turn me on.
Yeah,
It flip flops. That's amazing.
yeah, I'm a little flip flopper. So anyway, yeah.
And how many people are you playing with? Well, when you're doing live performances?
Uh, so the first couple shows I did were like a four-piece band. Guitar, me on keys and vocals, drums, bass. So it's pretty like, you know, traditional sounding. And then as time went on, I was like, I don't want to sound like a traditional band live. Even though I love live music, I wanted, for at least for my sound, like I want it to be like not traditional sounding. So now it's just me and my friend Derek who plays keys. He does all the synth stuff that I do too. So the two of us together is kind of like a powerhouse.
And are
'Cause
you are you still on the piano as well, or is it just vocals
yeah,
now? Okay.
yeah. So it's the double synth. It's synth orgy.
A
So
classic
well,
synth orgy. Yeah.
yeah, because you need two people to make one orgy, right?
I think orgy would be like four people, because like three is a
Yeah,
threesome, and then four,
right.
I think like a four would be like an orgy, right?
In terms of the synthesizers, there's at least four or more synthesizers on stage, so it makes sense to call it a synth orgy.
Sorry, four people playing. I didn't want to get too graphic there.
Oh,
Four
okay, never
people
mind.
playing
Yes, I get it. I
with
get
each with each other
it.
in a room together
Right.
in orgy.
Okay, my bad. So I
So
don't get to use the word orgy anymore.
no, I mean
You're right.
it's already right, and also, I mean, people could also be doing that in the bedroom, making music and whatnot, like everybody does, as well as having sex. Now, um, what is your favorite song from Sweet Company overall? What is the most favorite?
Are we okay? Are we okay? Just goes. It just hits
Okay, we
every
get
single
it.
time.
All right, fine, Vicky. Shit. Vicky, I really do appreciate you sitting down with me and chatting. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, that was fun. No problem. Thanks for having
Garden
me.
Grove's favorite child, Vicky.
Garden Grove, Garbage Grove.
Okay, all right, okay. No, it's true. It's true. Vicky, before we stop recording here, though, I got some promo to do. So, Vicky Farewell's album "Sweet Company" is streaming everywhere. Wherever the people get it, that's where you can stream it. Definitely go check it out. People can buy the album through your Bandcamp, which is vickyfarewell.bandcamp.com, or through Max record label, which you can find at shop.mattdemarco.com, and you can stay up to date with Vicky's news and dates and all that good stuff at by following her on Instagram at Vicky Farewell. Now, do we have anything else to promote?
I'll be on tour in March.
In March.
So we'll release those dates soon, but I'm playing Tree Fort Festival in Boise, Idaho this year. So there's that.
That festival scene. It's always packed, always good. So if you're in the area, Tree Fort. Vicky, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna stop recording this. I'll talk to you in a minute, okay?
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.